And the other thing, since you've been on this pod or you're coming on this podcast, that I was thinking about as you said all of this, which you would be definitely able to provide insight on, is that for most people, they know that I'm just starting my PhD journey. And part of that is that I'm revisiting anatomy again. And one of the things that was really, really surprising to me was that when you start developing coronary heart disease or any type of atherosclerosis in the arteries, it actually becomes super hard. I found that out and I did not know that. I mean, you learn about this, right? But I think when you actually see it in a actual body and you realize how much damage, I guess, to your arteries you're actually causing with a less than healthy lifestyle, I would say, that thing becoming that scarred down atherosclerosis, and it's that crunchy, for lack of a better term, that if most people, I think, experienced that or saw that and knew the effects that it's having inside of your body, because the one great thing that you said is this low level inflammation or coronary heart disease and all of that, you can't feel it. Our body can't sense it. But if you understand what is actually taking place in your body, how it's adapting in a negative way, I think that in itself will make most people rethink about, okay, how do I want to take care of my body? Because like you said, once you start to incorporate some of these things, you take care of your body, it's going to benefit in so many ways besides just physical health too. But can you touch on that a little bit? All of the surgeries that you've done, all of the people's lives that you've saved, what is physically happening to not only your coronary arteries, but all of your arteries? Arteries in the brain, arteries all over your body. What is happening when you start to pile on decades of living in a way that you're not fully taking care of your body?
Sure. What happens is when you eat the wrong foods and at the same time you don't do exercise, then all this is converted in the body into fat. And that fat is now, which has formed from the liver, circulates in the blood. And this fat is sticky in nature. It is going through the arteries and getting stuck here and there in the arteries all over the body. Arteries of large size, medium size, even small size. Now, when fat deposits on the inner lining of the arteries, the inner lining that was normally present before is a membrane, very thin, and body responds to it by growing fresh, thin layer over it so that this fat gets covered to keep the inner lining smooth so blood keeps going. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it occupies space. That fat behind the lining, the diameter of the artery narrows. Mm-hmm. And then over the long run, process occurs called fibrosis. And this fat hardens. But not all of it hardens. Some of it is still soft, might have deposited yesterday or day before yesterday. So that fat is vulnerable. And what happens that if you are under stress, or if for any reason this lining breaks, then there are cells in the body called platelets. They want to plug, like if you cut your finger, the bleeding eventually stops because the platelets come and cover it. It's called white thrombus, and the bleeding stops. So platelets come and cover it, and then platelets release a substance which deposits and makes it hard. But as this goes on, it keeps narrowing, narrowing, and narrowing until one day it is blocked more than 75%. And it does not have to be more than 75. Sometimes it is only 34, 35% blocked. There is enough flow, and when the inner lining breaks, and those white cells, platelets deposit, then blood itself starts clotting over there. And that clot increases in size and blocks the whole artery quickly.
Yes.
And your blood supply is cut off, you get heart attack. So you don't have to have significant blockage, sometimes insignificant, and still you can get total blockage very quickly, and that leads to heart attack. Now, if that doesn't happen and slowly they get narrower, if you are that lucky, it is happening not in the heart arteries only, arteries all over the body. So when the arteries of the legs narrow down enough, you start getting pains on walking because your leg needs more oxygen and it's not getting there enough. Arteries are hard, they are not dilating to give more supply. You develop what they call as claudication, pain on walking. If it blocks enough in the arteries of the neck, which supply the brain, you get stroke.
Yes.
Plus, there is a formula in physics, flow times resistance is pressure. If the artery does not dilate, it offers a resistance to the flow, blood pressure goes up. And too high blood pressure can cause hemorrhage in the brain. So that is how it affects the arteries and can lead to not only hardening the arteries, but quick, complete blockage causing heart attack. And if blood supply of the heart is suddenly cut off, heart becomes irritable.
Yes.
And when it becomes irritable, it beats irregularly and very fast and goes into what we call as ventricular fibrillation. And when if it is not contracting properly, the blood cannot flow because it's not working like a pump.
Yes.
The blood flow totally gets cut off and the person dies right then and there.
And those are all things that, like you said, things in your book. So I do want to mention your book. It's called Healthy Diet and Mindfulness to Prevent Coronary Heart Disease. Yes. And I looked through the book. It's a very quick read with a lot of great gems in there. And like you said, it's the food and the diet. That is a big component for sure. And no one's arguing that, but it's so much more than that because it has to work with all of these other areas: sleep, recovery, stress mediation, making sure that everything in your life, socializing, all of these things are working together to not only support your health, but just support your lifestyle.